All right, Jules, we're going to get more into United, but let's talk a little bit of Liverpool first. I mentioned that Zirk's a hat trick of chances.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, there's a lot of praise for the way Slot has hit the ground. Slot has hit the ground running. I think there's obviously a ton of concepts that he's maintained from the Klopp era.
Yeah.
Some things, like the way he uses Soboslai, have been very, very different. That said, are there still some defensive concerns in the way? Yes, nobody is. Alisson had to make a couple big saves.
Yeah.
You don't really want to be giving up those chances when you're in control, right?
No, yeah, and I think there is more control in the way they play the game, and their shape as well, I think, allows that too. But defensively, this is still a very attacking-minded team anyway. So I think they will always be, even if they want more control, and they have more control since he came in, more than on the club, there will always be time where you'll be exposed, because if you have Gravenberch and McAllister as your double pivot in front of you, two really number 10s, that's what they are, or even number 8, but certainly not pure number 6, then I think it will always be the case that at some point defensively you will be a bit exposed. And as we know, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not the best of defenders as a right back, and 2 of those 3 chances for Zirkzee came from that side. Rashford crosses towards Zirkzee, so it's not just him, it's also Virgil, it's also Robertson. Overall, defensively, I think they will always concede chances. It's about
And that's just the
finding
system
right balance.
you're saying.
Yeah,
right?
and the way they just attack and think about attacking more than anything else, really, which that's not going to change.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Slot and how well this has worked so far. Also, how he didn't just take the Feyenoord setup and say, all right, I'll just stick the Liverpool guys into my Feyenoord setup. I think this is different. I mean, again, the concepts are the same. It's the same coach and whatever, but it's not. He's catered it to the strengths of the individual players.
Yeah, it was more 4-3-3 at Feyenoord anyway, so like Klopp, and that, the fact that he changed it at Liverpool is really interesting.
Yeah, but he was a 4-3-3, but I mean, there were tweaks. I mean, certainly he's got, like, the way that, obviously anybody watches Liverpool regularly, the way Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah are both wingers, but they play very, very differently, right? And he's allowed for that in his system. And he's done so very, very quickly with many of these players away, post-Euros and whatever, with a short preseason. I think that part has been really, really impressive as a result. Whether it can continue at this level, I think that's the big question. I mean, I'll ask you flat out. At the start of the season, we said, okay, Manchester City may be challenged by Arsenal for the title. Liverpool far ahead of everybody else, but also behind those two. From what you've seen, can we call it a 3-way race just yet? Do you think Liverpool look better than Arsenal?
Yeah, I've said all summer that they were going to have a great season. I even had them second in my predictions and City third, because I thought all the charge against City and the fact that it could be Guardiola's last season would derail their season a little bit, which is not the case for now. I get it, but yeah, I've always thought Liverpool they look great in pre-season. I thought Slot was always the right guy to take over Klopp for all the reasons that you said. And what they've done so far, it was not been perfect. The first half against Ipswich, the second half against United, for example, they had difficulties at times for different reasons and in different situations. But I think overall, this team, considering they made no signing apart from Chiesa in the summer as well, I think this team is going to keep growing under him, and I think it's really, really interesting what they're going to be able to do, I think, this season, both in Europe and in the league.
It was funny with Chiesa because I was watching one of the highlight programs and they cut to him, and the commentator's like, "Oh, look at Chiesa, all wide-eyed after seeing this performance," and like, no, that's just what Chiesa looks like. That's what his eyes look like all the time. He is a little bit kind of bug-eyed that way. But about Chiesa and about the contract, going back to what Salah says, just focusing specifically on Salah, right? I love it when people are honest, right? And people are direct. And I think here he was direct. He's simply stating facts. I don't know that he 100% wants to stay to the point that he would take a pay cut. That's a decision for him. I think with a pay cut, you could maybe stay another year if that's what you want to do. And I say pay cut because, as we've seen, the business of football has changed.
He's 32 years old.
You're older, and he's older. Equally, Liverpool, I think, sent him and Rami Abbas a message when they signed Chiesa, because Chiesa can play different positions, but on the right is where he's done most of his best work. And Liverpool have a ton of forward winger types already. So in some ways, Salah could leave tomorrow, and at least in terms of personnel, they'd be relatively well equipped.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't know what's going through his mind, but certainly the feeling. It's not so much that Liverpool haven't spoken to him yet, because if I were Liverpool, I would say, Mo, we're going to talk about this in the spring, right? Or January or whatever, right? Your new contract and whether you're getting one or not, right? Because there's no rush, right? But I think he's a bit annoyed by Chiesa, by the arrival of Chiesa.
No.
Do you think Liverpool annoyed him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, right now, between Salah and Chiesa, there's just no debate anyway.
No, not for this season, but for next season.
Do
you take this as a message that they have committed? I mean, again, I don't have the numbers on Chiesa's new deal. I'm sure they'll emerge. And I'm pretty sure Chiesa would have taken a pay cut from what he was on before. But that's still a big commitment, 4 years.
Yeah.
Forget the transfer fee is low. There's a really, really big commitment on a player who plays the same position as Salah.
Yeah, but who's not as good as Salah anyway. So if Salah scores 30 goals
right.
this
But you think
season,
Chiesa comes here and says, like, hey, look, we're gonna give Salah a 4-year contract too, and you can sit behind him and be his backup for 4 years. I mean, then...
No, I don't know. I just don't think this changes. I mean, from Salah's point of view, I don't think this changes anything. If you're Salah, you're scared of Chiesa arriving in the club? I don't think so.
No, but you're getting a message from the club that your replacement is here.
But you're 32 years old. But your
so
replacement,
you know that they're
when?
going to your replacement. You what you're saying is, sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I will. You're saying that if you're Salah, you understand the business. You're not fussed. You're not fussed by this.
No,
at all. You don't take it as Liverpool saying, we have a certain budget for this position. We're not going to spend £500,000 a week on the right wing position going forward. So you don't see it that way.
No. I think he sees it in the way like, I'm here. Like he says, he wants to enjoy the last season. He's starting the season so well. If they want to give him an extension and cutting his wages, then he will have to see if that suits him or not, and if he wants that or not. If they don't want him to stay, then he goes at the end of the season after 9 years or 10 years or something like that, and he will have nothing. I mean, I just don't know. Like, does he want to stay? I'm not sure. Now that Klopp has left, I think it's probably a better thing for him, because as we saw last season, there was clearly tension between him and Klopp towards the end. So the fact that there's a new manager is probably better. Would he want to stay? I would think so. Otherwise, he would not have come out yesterday in the way he did and saying like, well, the club hasn't yet spoken to me about a new deal. Would he want to stay one more year and then go, I don't know, back to Egypt, go to MLS, go to Saudi Arabia, go to another league? I don't know. That's the thing. But I don't think that Chiesa arriving really changing the dynamic for him. Is way better than Chiesa, even at 32 years old. You always have a backup for every position in every big club.
Yeah, I disagree so much. I think it does change the dynamic. It doesn't mean
what does it change the dynamic?
Because you have a billion forwards. You already had, I think, in my view,
everybody has backups for every position at a big club.
No, nobody has these many backups. Nobody has these many quality backups.
Who's Salah's backup before Chiesa?
I mean, okay, just going through the forwards and wingers.
No, Salah's backup. I just want Salah's back. If Salah is injured, who plays?
Jota can play there.
Okay, that's not his main position.
None of them are the main position.
No,
Therefore, let's not complicate this.
No, you say Chiesa is the replacement for Salah, so this is main position.
Right.
Who else?
Well, because
who else is a right winger in that squad? Nobody else.
Right winger, left winger. Come on, just let's not complicate this. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Oh, I can play on the right, but I can't play on the left.
No, who's a right winger? Who is a right? Luis Diaz is not a right winger. Luis Diaz is a left winger.
Luis Diaz plays better on the left. Yes.
So he's a left winger that can play right winger if needed.
Yes.
Who's a right winger?
I would say Jota can play on the right if needed.
Who is a right winger? Who is a right winger first and then can play in another position?
Okay, frankly.
No, tell me. You said they've got loads of options. Who is the right winger who can play
any one of these forwards? We're talking about backups here. Nobody has six. Nobody has six high-profile forwards, right?
They have six forwards.
Sorry. Let's just count them, okay?
But there's no point. Right. We're talking about Salah. We're not talking about forwards to start with. We're talking about Salah. Who is Salah's? You said they have loads of options to replace Salah. Who is Salah's main replacement? It's Chiesa, okay? So Chiesa
Right.
is the backup for Salah. Every club has a backup.
Okay. Chiesa is getting paid more money than any forward at the club other than Salah. Okay,
Yeah.
so this creates a dynamic, whether we like it or not. Whether we say he's a right winger, he's a left winger, we start to put labels
yeah.
on people, right? So we've said that they've got six. I'm not sorry. I'm just going to count them in my head because I'm going to add Elliott into the mix, right? Obviously, Ben Doak, I don't even know if he went on loan or not, but obviously he's a kid who they like a lot, could come back, whatever, right? And then obviously it's Nunez, who's also played wide, of course, in the past. It's Luis Diaz, it's Jota, and it's Cody Gakpo and Salah, right? That's 7, yeah? So I don't think that there's any team right now, any top team, that has that many, take Doak out, but has that many kind of proven assets in those front 3 positions. Now, you can say it's smart because if Salah leaves, I don't have the pressure to bring in a specific replacement, a starter quality replacement for him. I can bring in a younger, bring in somebody cheaper. I might not bring anybody in, right? So you can go down that route if you want, and maybe that's what Liverpool are doing. But I think strategically, it's certainly a curious decision by the club, or an interesting decision. It doesn't make it a wrong decision. And as long as they're honest and they keep this open dialogue with Salah, then it can work.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just don't. If you're Mo Salah right now, Chiesa arriving, Chiesa being there or not being there doesn't change anything for you. You're the best forward in that team, in that squad by far. So whether the club wants to keep you at with the same wages is another discussion. But Chiesa arriving, I think for him doesn't change anything. And the fact that he's starting the season so well shows that he's clearly not bothered by the fact that he's in the last year of his contract. They brought another right winger. Right, they might keep him for another 2 years, and Chiesa is always his backup for the next 3 years or something. I just don't think he sees it as this is a threat for me, or this means that I'm not going to be there next season. They're going to give me, maybe they won't give him an extension, and they're going to make Chiesa the starter next season, maybe. But they can also say to him, "Listen, we give you one plus one.
I don't doubt they have a lot of options.
1 plus 1, and we cut your wages by 2. You happy with that? Yeah, I'll take 250k a week instead of 500, and look, that's the 1 plus 1.
And maybe that, I'm not saying this means that Salah, let's be very clear, I think this means Salah's going to leave. I'm saying is they've put themselves in this position, I think with the intent to give themselves more options. It comes at a risk because you have more players. You can't give them all the minutes, right? I don't know
true.
how much we're going to see of Darwin or Gakpo or whatever going forward. So, like, it's football, right? I find the decision...
It's an opportunity of market, right? You agree? Chiesa is a market opportunity. They signed him because he was there cheap. It's a 10 million transfer fee.
It's not cheap. It's only cheap if they got the wages right. I'm going to come out and say this.
Yeah.
If he did not take a big pay cut over the 200 grand a week, roughly, that he was making at Juve, then it's not cheap at all. It is not cheap
but
at all. So, like, we can just look at this because he's going to have... He's 20, leaving aside the whole injury side of it, it is a roll of the dice. That's fine. You have to... no risk, no reward. And that's what I find so interesting. They have some really smart people there who've made these decisions. I find that process... And I think Chiesa is definitely counterintuitive if you're Liverpool. I find that process really interesting. And I think that's what makes Michael Edwards and I guess Richard Hughes, he was obviously a big part of the decision. I think that's what makes this interesting. Smart people making decisions that could backfire. And you had the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Speaking of decisions that could backfire, let's turn to United and their decisions to keep Erik Ten Hag. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I want to get some positives here from United out of the way. I mentioned Xerxes' chances. I've been hugely critical of Marcus Rashford. I thought he did his part in this game.
Yeah. He looked good.
Who was not good, I thought Kobe Mainoo was really poor as well. And he's lucky that Casemiro, like he's a kid, and I feel weird like attacking him. But you know what? He's an England international. He's got the responsibility. He's a starter for Manchester United. He will continue to be a starter once Ugarte plays. I thought at the back, I love Matthijs de Ligt. But when I saw that tackle
on Diaz,
and I said, "This is why a lot of people, including with Holland and stuff, the original Dutch guy,
Dutch guy,
these guys don't want you because you mistimed that a little bit. Yeah. You end his career, and you're not a dirty player.
No, but he's slow at times. He's
rash. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, rash. Yeah,
I thought Martinez was poor in this game as well.
He was as well.
So there's. It's rough.
Bruno, I mean, I think again, we talked about the Liverpool midfield and McAllister, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai being really good, and they were really good. Mainoo, Bruno, and Casemiro, on the other hand, was just
Bruno was absent in this game.
so bad. And I think it's okay to be well organized like they were in the first half hour before the first Casemiro mistake, but they still didn't offer much with the ball. They had those chances for Zirkzee late in the second half of the second half, because I think Liverpool at 2-0 up also kind of like lost a little bit of composure and control. But I wasn't sure about I would have taken Zirkzee off and not Garnacho, for example. Even not that Garnacho was great, but I can understand the boos from the crowd.
Zirkzee came off for Eriksen.
Yeah, exactly. So some of those substitutions. But you know what? I found Ten Hag rattled already. I found him on edge already after only 3 games. In his pre-match press conference, he was like, I had to build this club, and he was talking about himself a lot. And then obviously after this game against criticism, keeps saying like, but we've won 2 trophies, in the last 2 seasons. This is his 3rd year, and you don't see really any progression. I know they won 2 cups, and good for them. But they were also on the back of their worst season in 40 years last season in the league, which is surely more of a representation of your level than 7 games in an FA Cup.
I think if you looked at this game and you didn't know, and you said, hey, which Dutch bald manager is coaching his 3rd league game,
you're so right.
and which one's been in his 3rd season, you would have thought it was the other way around. Yeah. I think that part's evident. Like, I don't want to just be negative about United. Like, get them excited. Explain to them why Paris Saint-Germain would spend all this money on Manuel Ugarte, and then halfway through the season, Luis Enrique decides, no, I don't like him. Is it because Luis Enrique is a genius, but also an oddball, like a serious oddball? We know he's an oddball, right? Yeah. Is that it? And actually, is it just that Vitinha, he wants a playmaker, and Vitinha can pass the ball better, and that's why?
Yeah, I think it's just simply that. I think Ugarte is a really good player, and I think if you're a Manchester United fan, you should be happy with the signing. Not excited. It's hard to be excited by a number 6 in general, but you should be happy because he will do a lot of good for your team. And him and Kobe Mainoo, I think, could be a really good partnership. At PSG, he was really good at time at the beginning. He presses well. He runs a lot. He works so hard. He recovers a lot of the balls. He's like kind of the enforcer that you need, that some teams need. But on the ball, he has some limitations. And Luis Enrique wanted a 6 that was much better on the ball. That's why he moved Vitinha there.
Inevitably, the question arises. Ugarte's coming in for Casemiro, presumably in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
After a game in which Casemiro, talking about being press resistant, lost the ball twice and created these problems. And you're telling me they're bringing somebody in who lost his place at Paris Saint-Germain after they spent a ton of money on him because he's not as press resistant as the coach would like. This is not a ringing endorsement in terms of the characteristics of the player.
And that's what I've been saying all along since this Ugarte deal. Ugarte would be great for United if the build-up structure from Ten Hag is not built around him. So this has to be...
This is a really good point he's making. Pay attention.
This is a key signing out of position for your team because he's going to do so much great work for you. In possession, you can't rely on him to get the ball out from the bag, to build up from the bag. This is not what he does. Okay. So for that, Kobe Mainoo, who again against Liverpool, lost the ball on the 3rd goal, made a mistake. Better. But even before that, I don't think was involved enough in that phase of play, leaving it to Casemiro, who can't do it anymore, who was really, let's be honest, never too great at it either. But Ugarte can't do it either.
Could you also get a little bit fancy, given that we talked about the Ligt before? He can certainly pass a ball.
Yeah.
You don't want him stepping into midfield and trying to dribble around players. But if it comes from simply stepping into midfield a la John Stones and spreading the ball, that's something he can do really, really well.
Lisandro Martinez as well.
So and Lisandro Martinez is actually also quite comfortable on the ball. Yeah,
completely. With his
so
left
maybe
foot
you
too.
need to get a little more sophisticated, maybe more of that playmaking to one of the center halves, take some of that pressure off of Ugarte off the ball.
Yeah.
There you go, United fans. Come on, cheer up. Zirkzee nearly had a hat trick, and I think Ugarte will help.
Yeah.